This second episode will talk about the next speciations: predatory cattle, prey, and aquatic lifestyles. I don't want to step on Alien Evolution's toes too much. This is his project and he should be allowed to do what he wants. That isn't really the point of this video though. I'm not trying to poke unsolicited holes in someone else's passion project. I just want to generate praise for this idea in a more emphatic way than just commenting, liking, and subscribing to their content. But if you haven't by now, go watch Evo's videos, since he's the source and my videos are just singing his praises. Anyway, keep it up, Evo. Love the content. Before I say anything, I want to eat my words about predation by stomping and bitey mouths. You'll see why just now. Onto my petty nitpicks. We left off the last video on carnivory. This is the first of the carnivores. Now, Evo suggests that these guys hunt with their horns. However, I believe this creature's physique is not sustainable for what it is. Smaller carnivores hunt prey that's smaller than them. Think foxes and rabbits. But larger carnivores hunt prey that is equal to or much larger than they are, like lions and buffalo. Although this guy is vastly different from a lion and so follows a different hunting pattern, I don't believe this can explain its sheer size for the prey that it would hunt. So it either hunts massive cattle, which Alien Evolution has not conceptualized yet, or the size and build of this creature must change slightly. I propose this design. It's a smaller, but still very large species of carnivorous cattle, which also hunts using its horns. Its horns, however, aren't used in the same way as its counterpart. Alien Evolution's bulky predator hunts by ramming its straight, protruding horns into the prey and then stomping on them. I'd suggest that this guy hunts by charging its prey and rams its head into the neck region of prey to confuse it. Once dazed, it quickly uses its downward curving horns to pin it and trip the prey. But then I think it would use its heavy front legs, armed with sharp and hardened hooves, to pierce and stamp. I think this is a pretty faithful reconstruction, that may be more plausible than the previous one. Again, not my project, just unsolicited speculation for the fun of it. But you can't imagine a predator without its prey, so I imagine this bulky boy would hunt prey like this. I call it the prairie calf. Prairie calves are home to the grasslands and travel in droves of upwards of 100. They are slow-moving as a herd, but once they spot danger, they can quickly sprint off, leaving the predators in the dust. They're challengingly quick prey, but their bodies don't have much armor or defense, so any ramming would easily daze them. What's more is that their sight isn't the best, which explains why a predator of such large size could go unnoticed for so long. Another prey item could be these: Tundra Shamblers. These heavy beasts require a change in hunting tactic. The adults are far too large to take down, but the infants are the perfect pick. I imagine they'd hunt by using a distraction front, and one member of the pack would strike from behind. The Shamblers are all around dangerous, and these hunts aren't often successful, but the rewards are high profit. Taking a step back from the idea that horns are the only way to go, I love Alien Evolution's idea of how the cattle would shorten their snouts to bring their molars forward. I think this is a great adaptation to overcome the obstacle of carnivory. But the design of this guy I think must change for two reasons. The first is that it will no longer need its horns. I find that Alien Evolution often keeps the horns in these organisms in case we forget that they're cattle, which I understand. But evolution does not overtly remind you that a whale was a wolf however many millions of years ago. The second reason is that this organism adopts a far more conventional idea of carnivory, and so its form should complement this more drastically. So I think looking at ancient carnivores like Andrewsarchus or Entelodonts would be fair to derive characteristics from. It would look somewhat like Andrewsarchus, but operate more like Entelodonts. Big, brutish carnivores with tusky teeth, heavy heads, and bodies fitted for chasing down prey would become the ultimate goal for this top-tier predator. These Entelo-Andrewsarchid predators would hunt smaller prey which roam the savanna and desert environments. Prey like these equine-looking cattle, which are offshoots from a familiar face. These guys are often solitary, maybe in groups of 4 or so. They're incredibly quick, but getting caught up in rocky landscapes and hard-to-maneuver shrublands make for a good meal when you're a starved, long-legged carnivore. These predators act like bullies and scare off the other predators who can't fend for their kills and mob defenseless prey. They'll fill up a role like the mafia of the drylands. I neglected a fact that Alien Evolution brilliantly didn't overlook. The planet was regulated by humans, which means, once they left, some of the seas would dry up and drastically change. He also does a better job at focusing on the changes of planktonic life, so I suggest you watch his video on that. The algal species will dominate much of the water, and with diversifying cows, some of them will feed on this and fill in the semi-aquatic niche. Alien Evolution gives this guy to fill in this niche. They spend their lives diving in and out of water to feed on deeper algae pockets. Many of these marine cattle would have to migrate between seas. One thing I would add is that this form would only be the outcome if this guy lives a freshwater life. If it were to traverse the oceans of Apollo, like the major Hyacinthus, their horns would unfortunately need to go. Not entirely, of course. Optimistically, I suggest that their horns recede into nubs so they can swim more streamlined. They won't get rid of their horns entirely because there are no predators like sharks or whatever, so they can keep a husk of what their horns once were. I believe they'll feed in the water, dive down to feed on kelp, and then with buoyancy control, surface and rest on the beaches of Apollo. Here they will mate, compete, and play, all the while resting on the shores or mud baths in freshwater ecosystems. This is alien evolution's idea for a marine bovine. I believe you probably know what I'm gonna say, so I'm just gonna... There's only one other thing I'd suggest, but this is only for the future of Apollo when there is carnivorous marine life. The color pattern of these guys would probably adopt a counter-shaded pattern, like penguins or some cetaceans. The final speciation alien evolution mentions in the video is aquatic carnivals. Basically, these dudes will chase these dudes and end up in the water, and you get the idea. And now what I think would happen are three possibilities. The first is what alien evolution suggests, that the predators will fill in a crocodilian niche. The second is that the hippobovines will evolve tougher skin or better swimming. This means that another speciation will occur. One species whose skin is too hard and just not worth the effort for predators to attack, and the predators will go off and find easier prey someplace else. The second species, which are smaller and quicker, will specialize further into an aquatic lifestyle, and the arms race continues. The third is that the predators will scour the beaches, feeding on anything they can find, and develop into a scavenger species instead of a predator, because dead food sources are easier food sources. They can still obviously hunt, but they are less likely to do so, thereby becoming less of a threat to the hippobovines. Alright, that's all I'm going to say on this topic. I'm getting off my soapbox, I'm wrapping up. If alien evolution does see this, I hope you enjoyed it, and that my takes were helpful, or at the very least entertaining. Again, these videos are not me ripping into everything he's done. They're just my personal developments of his project, because I love Spec Evo, and I think this idea needs more praise and attention. Anyway, that's all from me. Good evening, and good night.